Upgrades. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review. Now, this film here is a film that, with everything behind it, you would have thought would be a sure hit. With a storyline behind it, you thought would be a sure hit. And yet, and still, this is probably one of the most disappointing films of the year. And this one is called Wish. And here's a quick synopsis. A young girl named Asha wishes on a star and gets more direct answer than she bargained for when a troubled making star comes down from the sky to join her. This is directed by Chris Buck. It stars Chris Pine as King Magnifico, crazy name, Ariana, DeBose as Asha. Now, the funny part of Wish is that this was supposed to be a film especially celebrating Disney's 100-year anniversary. This is supposed to be a film that almost combines all their stories into one. It makes it like a film filled with Easter eggs that helps explain the Disney magic and how certain other films are spent off from this. It's very weird the way they attempted to set up Wish. But when we are introduced to Asha and we meet King Magnifico, that is still a name there. Wow. When we meet these two characters, when we're introduced to them, we're introduced to a king who tends to be granting wishes just as a yearly anniversary event for the people of his town. And Asha is supposed to be his apprentice, someone who's next in line to take his place. The whole movie, and I'm trying to be vague, but the whole movie is based off of her grandpa's wish and her feeling that maybe more people should get a chance to live their wish, and when they don't get their wish, that he should give the wishes back to the people. So basically, so they have a purpose to live for. They have something to strive towards, because once they give up their wish, they kind of forget that wish exists. So when you forget that wish exists, you don't strive to make that a reality for yourself. Sounds like a deep meaning. Sounds like a deep plot. But instead, we get the ultimate Disney variation of this story, which leads to a falling star coming. And again, if you know Disney, if you wish upon a star, as a falling star falls, and this star starts to grant Asha powers in a way, starts to grant wishes in a way. It is as silly as it sounds. For a storyline that could have been just straightforward and more in the vein of what we get from Pixar animation, which is also part of Disney, you would expect a better executed story here. You would expect non-lazy Easter eggs that we get here. We have Asha and her 7 friends, which happen to be the representation of the 7 dwarfs. Like it felt like they shoehorned in as many Easter eggs as humanly possible to hook an audience into this story. Unfortunately, the story is extremely lackluster. Chris Pine as the king here is not good. That's the best way to put it. He's just not entertaining in this role at all. And it's history tied onto who this king is actually tied onto in another Disney film down the line, or it's supposed to be down the line from this film. So they tie in everything humanly possible. But when they tie in every film all through the 100 years, and this is supposed to be that cumulative film that gets you everything humanly possible in Disney in one gulp. And because they put that much onto this film, I think it cheapened the story. It cheapened building a possible another princess type character, even though she's not a princess. But at this point with Disney, when you have these female leads, they don't necessarily have to be princesses to fit that princess mold of the strong, independent young woman who comes into her own through tragedy and in a triumphant moment. It's kind of the staple of what makes Disney animation. But here with Asha, you just don't believe any elements of her. Like, this is the first Disney animation film that I've seen since possibly Home of the Brave or Treasure Planet, where I thought, oh, this is just lazy. Like, it just feels like a lazy film. And it's partially lazy because it felt like no one took the time to want to flesh out the story or get a better plot with the story. Instead, they wanted to just ram you full of Easter eggs and give you as many nostalgic moments as humanly possible to attract a younger crowd, a younger audience. But in turn, you turn off majority of the people who could possibly like this film based off of the way you play these characters. Asha is an annoying person in this film, which is weird with Disney. Like, that's the female lead in Disney animation films, even when they have annoying moments, are still likable characters. Her character is not really likable, and it almost feels that way because her character doesn't have a point to it. She goes from being an apprentice to a regular person. Her friends are weird representations of the Seven Dwarfs. She gets a star, that's Disney's star, for their 100-year anniversary. And you're wondering, like, okay, so we get all of these elements in. Then we cut this movie at about an hour and 20, an hour and 25 minutes. So we're not going to flesh out any form of a story here. And we're not even going to flesh out a villain to make her, like, even more likable. Like, you have to play against a good villain. And again, Chris Pine's King here is not a good villain. His wife, who has a very small role in this film, which makes no sense for her role to be small in this film, not likable. Like, it's so many elements of Wish that don't work. The one element that works well is its songs. They have solid songs. Not great. Not anything that's going to stand out. Not, to me, anything that you're going to remember in 2 or 3 years from Disney. But they have solid songs here. Solid animation here. The crux of the issue is the characters aren't likable, the story's not believable, and the plot is too silly for anybody to really tune into it and give this movie a fair shot. And I think that's the issue with it, is that it feels like this is the type of project that Disney Plus is for. So when you were dumping all these amazing Pixar films on Disney Plus, and then you released a film like this in theaters, it makes people question, what is Disney doing? Like, this is clearly a Disney Plus film. This is a film that had no business being released to the masses. Granted, it has a huge $200 million budget. That's the reason why you release it to the masses. But the whole time you're watching it, it feels like, as an audience member, you're thinking to yourself, I could just watch this at home. Like, I don't need to go to the theaters. It reminded me of Planes, which was a spinoff of Cars that was made strictly for VOD for Disney, and then they released it in theaters thinking, hey, we can make a little money off of this film. It feels like Wish is the same exact thing, except for Wish has 4 times the budget that Planes did. And because of that, it suffers immensely. And it drags even at an hour and 20, 25 minutes. This movie drags on. And again, that is a death blow for animated film that is so short in length, but it feels like you're sitting there twice as long. But out of all that negativity, the songs are great. Real good. Good songs. Some of them are memorable. The big numbers, Chris Pine's Big Number, which a lot of people absolutely love and thought it would be an Oscar-nominated type of song. It's average at best for Disney. They don't do anything to put the villain over the top. Again, that's another thing with Disney animation. Normally, the villains are so over the top that they become a staple. And along with the princess character or character types in Disney animation films, the villains become that character also. They like become synonymous with Disney animation and with the film. And here, both of these characters are so lackluster, it just brings Wish to the point where you kind of wish you didn't sit through it. But Wish, brought to you by Walt Disney. It is currently, I want to say, on VOD, possibly on Disney Plus. Out of a possible 10, I'm going to give Wish a 2 out of 10. This is the weakest Disney animation film I've seen. Again, possibly since Home of the Brave. Maybe Chicken Little. There we go. That's a good comparison. It's the weakest film I've seen since Chicken Little from Disney Animation. And this is a scary moment for them in this section of their animation, is because besides Frozen, it feels like there's nothing entertained. Coco was really good from Disney Animation, but I think a lot of what else we've received from them, it just feels so lackluster from what we're accustomed to get. Especially when they made that rebound that happened, when they kind of fell off a lot around that Chicken Little Home of the Brave era. And then we saw the comeback. We saw that they were it felt like investing in solid stories to build these amazing characters again. And as of late, it feels like they've just fallen back off the wagon again, and Wish during Disney's 100-year anniversary is kind of the prime example of what happens when you believe nostalgia can replace a story and a plot and good characters that people will love. And you just think if we just lean on nostalgia, if we give enough Easter eggs here, people will be intrigued by this film. And instead, what we get here is a mess of an animated feature. But check it out. Let us know what you think. This has been another JVS movie review. Peace, people.